everyone, my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have my recent reads to share with you. At the beginning of 2023, I decided to do mid-month wrap-ups and then into the month wrap-ups. And that was because I was reading like 40 books a month. I do not read that much anymore, but I sometimes throughout the month will read more at the beginning of the month and less at the end of the month. So I decided when I have a handful of books to talk about that I want to talk about, I will sit down and do a recent reads video. It may be in the middle of the month. It might be all the books, it might be some of the books, whatever. We're just calling these recent reads videos, okay? I've been reading some really good books, and I'm so excited to actually sit down and talk about them with you. But before we dive in, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is Marietta. So I want to talk about her Austin Heat series because these covers are honestly stunning, and she has a brand new book in this series out that just came out at the beginning of January. So the first book in the Austin Heat series is The One Who Undid Me, and if you don't know the cover model, he's actually on TikTok. I follow him on TikTok, so I found that super interesting. But this all takes place in Texas. It's more of a, I wouldn't say cowboy, but kind of cowboy-ish romance series. It has mistaken identity, which I know some people absolutely love. A really intense attraction. The romance is really good. And there's a lot of like humor thrown in there that is like a borderline rom-com. You could check out the first book in the Austin Heat series, which is The One Who Undid Me. I'll have the link to this book in the description box below. The second book in the series is The One That Got Away. And this is when I said, oh, okay, it's kind of cowboy like that. I'm trying to get the light off of the cover. It's kind of cowboy. I like that. It's interesting. So this series is kind of described of like Friday Night Lights meets Yellowstone with the naughty version of Virgin River. So love this cover. I think it's really good. This is the second book, The One That Got Away. And the third book, which is the newest book in the series, is Austin Heat, The One That I Crave. And this cover has a couple on it, which I thought that was interesting to kind of change up the covers. But it does have the original male model, which I am actually a fan of because like I said, he's on TikTok and I follow him. You have to read these in order, but the continuation of this series with the third book, you follow along all these characters and see what they're up to. You're going to laugh out loud. You're going to gasp at some things, but it also does have some really spicy scenes in there. So for all my spicy romance lovers out there, this series is perfect for you. There still is that humor aspect in here with the third book. If you want to check out the Austin Heat series by Marietta, I will have all of the books linked in the description box below. And you can go check out this series because I think they are very addicting and binge-worthy series. So thank you to Marietta for sponsoring this video. And now let's go ahead and dive into the books that I read in the first half of January. Now, I am in my fantasy romance era. I am in it, fantasy romance, any type of fantasy. Like I'm submerged in it and I cannot like devour them quick enough. So I've read 8 books so far. I have fantasy, I have historical, and I have some historical fiction, contemporary. I have a mix, but the first one I read in January was Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose. Darling. This was a 5-star read for me. Now, I heard some of my friends talk about this book previously in the end of 2023, and it's been on my radar. This book has been on my wish list for a while when I heard people talk about it. So with this book, I love our female character because she is actually strong. There is no training montage where she has to get strong. There is no training montage where she has to learn about her powers. She is very okay in the way that she is, the way that she fights, the way her magic is. She just wants her dragons back because her uncle took her away from her father after, you know, her uncle realized how abused she was being. She was being mistreated by her father because her father knew that she was a threat to his kingdom and his reign. He knew that she was more powerful than him. Now, the whole thing with the dragons comes in because when she was born, a seer came to see, obviously, and celebrate her birth, and the seer laid 5 dragon eggs at the base of her like bassinet when she was a baby, and that means that those dragons are bonded to her. Now, along with her being caged, her father caged the dragons, and for me, that is just like, it was so hard to be in her head knowing that like a piece of her, the bond that she has with these dragons, she hasn't like seen them. She hasn't heard them. She doesn't know how they're doing in 14 years. She's had to stay hidden for so long and kind of like ally herself with a bunch of different people. Now, what gets me is the romance in here. She allies herself with the captain of another kingdom that is like wanting to go to war with her father's kingdom. And she's like, I'll help you, but first you have to help me get the dragons back, release them back to me where I can have my bond with them again. And me and my dragons will help you win the war. So this book ends with her getting her dragons back. It is a whole adventure though, and I cannot wait for the second book. I think it comes out in 2025 because the series got picked up, but I will patiently wait. It'll be fine. This is my first read of 2024. It was a 5-star read. I absolutely loved it. I want more people to read it because it's amazing. Now, the next book I did read was Reain Me In by Kayla Gross. I listened to the audiobook of this and I thought, okay, I know Kayla Gross can write really spicy stuff because I read Trick Shot, which was the holiday novella that she had, and it was just pure spice. Like, it wasn't really a lot of plot. It was pure spice. It is what it was. It was cute. And I thought, oh, the back of this seems very emotional. They're both dealing with certain things in their family. Like, one's dealing with grief, one's dealing with regrets and money issues and, you know, having resentment towards his family because he had to step up and be that person to take care of everything when his father died. So there was a lot of emotions going into this, but I felt like what Kayla Gross didn't focus on was that healing and those emotions. I don't know. I just felt like it was very much focused on them trying to get together, their very physical relationship, which I do understand that some people in romance books just have a very physical relationship right off the bat, but I just didn't feel like that emotional connection came. So I gave it 3 stars. Like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't good. I think I stopped with the contemporary romance after I read this one for a little while because I was like, I need to put a pause. I need to figure out what kind of subgenre of contemporary romance I wanted. And I went to a historical fiction that didn't quite pay off. So I read Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. And I will say I gave this book 3 stars as well. Now, this would have been a 4-star read. I feel really conflicted. So I love Jennifer Saint, how she takes these, you know, women that are previously in Greek mythology that maybe haven't had the best story or haven't been well known, and she turns it around. I read Ariadne, loved that book. And I haven't read Electra. I want to read Electra, but I wanted to pick this up because I saw it at Barnes & Noble, got it on the hardcover sale after Christmas, and I thought this will be great. And I loved the first 75% of this book. I loved her relationship with Artemis, how she was a human, how Artemis took her under her wing, trained her with the other kind of women that lived and, you know, honored her and worshipped her type of a thing. And I loved how strong she was, that she was stronger than some men. And she goes on this journey with a bunch of men and people look down on her because she's a woman. But Artemis is like, you're one of the strongest women I know. You're going to go on this ship and you're going to go on this journey with all of these men and show them how strong you are and how capable you are. And they're going to recognize that. Now, she always says, be wary of men, don't fall in love with men, don't have sex, blah, 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 blah. Artemis is very anti-men. Like, that's how she is as a goddess. And, you know, it's hard for a human to not fall in love. And I liked that part of it, how she fell for this guy. She had sex with him. Now, what I didn't like is the last 25% of this book. And that's why it went from a 4 to a 3-star read. Because I felt like the way that she wrote it was like kind of not hypocritical, but it was just kind of like complete opposite of what Atalanta was. So when Artemis finds out she's with child because during this journey she fell for this guy, she knew she wasn't going to keep him because he had a wife, but she wanted to have that attraction and that desire and that kind of experience with him, and she trusted him. Artemis kind of was like, you need to go away. You're not wanted in my woods anymore. And she has to just be on her own with this child. And it was just kind of like full circle because her parents left her when she was a baby in the woods, and that's how Artemis kind of found her. But I felt like it was like, I didn't understand the end of it. I didn't get the story. I didn't understand why Jennifer Saint went that way. So it was a 3-star. It was average. It was okay. I mean, Jennifer Saint can write really well. I know that. I just didn't particularly like the ending of the story. So unfortunately. And then I did a whole historic romance reading vlog where I was invited to collab with them and read some historicals. I wanted to fall in love with historicals again. And I'll have that video linked in the description box below and the cards above if you want to go check out my vlog for all my thoughts. It was a fun vlog. I decided to reread. I decided, you know what, to get back into historicals, I need to reread a beloved historic romance. So I reread Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. This is the 3rd book in the Wallflower series that follows Sebastian and Evie. Evie has a stutter. Sebastian is this horrible, terrible rake. He's very rakish, and they have kind of a marriage of convenience where they both get something out of it. She escapes her abusive family. He gets an heir and he can kind of inherit things, and, you know, all of this stuff. Like, people stop looking at him as like a rake. He falls hard and fast for Evie. Evie falls for him too. I love how Lisa Kleypas writes romances. I don't know what it is. I loved rereading this. It was such a beloved book to go back to. It's one of my favorites by Lisa Kleypas. So I was so happy to revisit Evie and Sebastian. And then we kind of dipped. I had a DNF. I DNF'd the Kate Bateman book, which I mentioned. I just wasn't loving it. Wasn't loving the female character. Just wasn't in the mood for that kind of historical romance. And then I picked up The Duke Gets Desperate by Diana Quincy. And I gave this one 3 stars. So I was like, oh God, this vlog is starting off with a bang and then it dipped low. And I was like, a 3-star historical, like, I don't know, like, it makes me nervous. I don't know what I'm going to pick up. But The Duke Gets Desperate is about an Arab American woman who comes to England when she finds out her cousin has died and her cousin has left her this castle. Now, our main male character, the Duke, thinks that he's going to inherit the castle once his stepmother dies. That stepmother decides to leave the castle to her cousin, and she's like, I don't know why. I haven't talked to her. I wanted to come visit her. So there's this mystery surrounding why she died, how she died. You know, he falls fast for her and hard for her. And she wants to kind of change it to a tourist thing because she, you know, left her business in America because her brother kind of kicked her out of it. So there was a lot of things I liked. There was just some things that I didn't particularly like. It didn't like catch me and drag me in. Now, the star of that vlog was The Notorious Lord Nightly by Reain Heath. This historical blew me away. Literally, I was so addicted that I just wanted to sit down. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to cook. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to sit down and be in this world. This is a second chance romance, and our characters so angsty. Like, it is so angsty, but the story is so beautiful. Our female character was left at the altar by our main male character, and literally, she was like, tell me why. And he was like, we're just not a match. And he spent all this time, months leading up to it, telling her, I love you. Like, we're meant to be together. It's okay that you didn't come from, you know, like royalty. Basically, her mom was kind of like a mistress to her father, who was a duke. So she was never like had a title or anything like that. He's like, it doesn't matter. Their romance, their coming together again was so beautiful. Like, I go off in my reading vlog. So this was a 5-star historical. I loved it. I just love I love Reain Heath's writing, and she did not disappoint with this book. I'm so happy I picked it up. It was fantastic. Now, I also found out that gothic fantasies are my shit. Okay, I found out that I love gothic fantasies because I read One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, and I fell in love with this duet. In love with this gothic fantasy. Now, I didn't know this was like such a subgenre of fantasy that I loved, but literally like that's all I want to read now. Like, I need more similar to this. So One Dark Window opens up with our female character Elspeth. She's kind of living, it's kind of a gothic historical kind of where it's like with castles, they have families, they have one king, and you know, each family is named after trees. So Spindle is her family name. And you see that she's infected and she needs to hide that and she has to keep it a secret. And you see that she has what she calls the nightmare inside of her head that talks to her. It's like this other thing. Basically what happened is there's these providence cards that give magic and you can use them, but everything comes with a cost. Nothing is free. So when she was a child, after she was infected, she touched the nightmare card and basically absorbed the soul of this card. So now she has this other thing living inside of her head. It's like two separate like his thoughts and her thoughts. She goes to Equinox and is kind of like taken away by this whole adventure. I don't even know how to describe these two books other than just read them. They are atmospheric. They are amazing. They're both 5-star reads. Like, they are so atmospheric that like it just sucked me into this world and I could not get enough. Like, I could not get enough of Raven, who is the love interest in this book, and how everything he's doing for her. It is beautiful. It is amazing. You have Elm, who is Raven's cousin, who is actually the king's second born. You see what he's doing. You see what Elspeth's cousin's doing, Ione's doing. You see, you know, Raven's brother is also infected. You see that he's the captain and he has his own like struggles and oh my God. It was such an intricate and beautiful story that I just could not get enough. I just could not get enough of this book. Like, I want everyone to read these. These might be my favorite books of 2024. Like, we're already in January. We're only 15 days into the year. These might be some of my favorite books. Utterly obsessed. But those are the books that I've read so far in January. I've been reading some amazing books. Thank you to Amari Nilix for sponsoring this video. For the emoji, drop me a smoke emoji, like black smoke emoji, because that's the cover of One Dark Window. But that's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content for me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.